All right, let's get into this next topic, Rob. We'll go to the NFL. And Christopher Price, who is a writer for the Boston Globe, was on a podcast called Dolphins Talk. And he made some interesting comments. Bill Belichick, Rob, is 71 years old. George Halas, I believe, has the all-time record
Papa Bear,
for being the oldest coach. And I think it's Halas. At 73, or Romeo Crennel. Check this out, Brandon. But George Halas, I believe, he coached. Halas was 72 years and 318 days old when he coached his final game. All right, that was in December 1967. Romeo Crennel was an interim head coach, Rob, of the Texans just a few years ago, 2020. And he was, in 2020, he was 73 years old.
Oh, 73.
So I guess it's Romeo Crennel is the oldest, although he was an interim. But George Halas, Romeo Crennel, they're 72, 73 years old. Rob, Belichick, 71. Like, he is old. I mean, he's up there.
I didn't realize
think of him as that old.
Yeah, because Pete Carroll, too, Chris, is 70.
Yeah, and they look, both of them, to be honest, and particularly Carroll, seem like they could coach,
Pete Carroll, right, because Pete Carroll's in good shape. He's slim. And but other than the gray hair, Chris, he looks good. He
looks good. And Belichick doesn't look bad. Pete Carroll, 72? That's what Brandon, really?
Yeah, I was going to say Pete Carroll is almost 80 years old.
You the one just said he was 70.
I thought he was 70. But I knew he was at least 70, but he looks even better if you're telling me 72.
He's the oldest coach in the league. He looks fantastic. I mean, my goodness. Let's see. Is he? I got to double check that. Yeah, wow.
What?
Today's his birthday.
Is it really, of all days that we're talking about it?
Brandon Trooper said that. It's today's Pete Carroll's birthday. Happy birthday, Pete Carroll. He's 72, Rob. He does.
That's right.
I mean, he looks great. He's in great
shape. If you could blow out the candles and wish for anything on your birthday, you would wish that you didn't have Wilson throw that ball into the end zone to lose the Super Bowl. That would be your wish. About that.
Or you shouldn't have made that call either. Not that that don't excuse Russ, but that call was bad. You got freaking Marshawn Lynch in your backfield?
Chris, not only is Marshawn Lynch at that time the best running back in the league, you ready? You can look it up. He had over 100 yards in that Super Bowl.
Oh,
he had just rushed for 12 or 14 to get them to the 1.5-yard line. Yeah. Go back and watch the tape. Listen to the announcers. You know what they said? The Patriots should just let them score. That's what they said because to get the ball back. They thought it was a foregone conclusion that they would get the ball in and not to eat up the clock, Chris, with at least 2 chances, enough time to set up and run it in twice. They throw the ball. That's
no doubt about it. But both of those guys seem like they'll coach longer. But anyway, Christopher Price said this on the Dolphins Talk podcast about Belichick.
The whole breaking Shula's record thing, there's a background there. I think one of the things that was important to Bill, you have to understand who he is. He grew up in Eastern Maryland, worshiping at the altar of the Baltimore Colts, and specifically when Shula was there with the Colts. It meant everything to him. He meant everything to him. And I think he was genuinely hurt when, in 2007, the Spygate stuff came out, and Shula made the comments that he made. And so I think his philosophy is, okay, if I can't wipe you off the books with another perfect season, I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to take your all-time wins record. So, look, I know it sounds small, and I know it sounds extremely petty, but that's the line of thinking, when you talk about Belichick and Shula and the all-time wins record and, how it's all kind of connected.
And, Rob, okay, so Shula has the all-time record, and this is a regular season and postseason combined, with 347 wins. Belichick is second with 329 wins. So he needs, obviously, 18 to tie, 19 to beat Shula. And let me say, if I can
3
find
seasons, huh?
I honestly, that's what I feel like. I'm not even trying to be funny.
I think it's going to be.
I don't think they're going to be that good.
You think it's going to take 3 seasons to get 18 games?
It's possible for it to be 2, but 19 games. So they're going to win 10 and say 9 or 9 and say 10.
Right.
Like this year, I think they probably win.
The
I mean, they
defense
could
didn't look
win
that
nine-
bad.
No, the team isn't that bad. It's just that the AFC in that division is tough. Now the Jets presumably falling off will help.
That might help it, push it.
Oh, yeah, it
because
should.
Now
It
they
should.
could maybe win both games against the Jets
Right.
this year compared to what might have been. That's a
might
good
have gotten
point.
beaten both. So that could help. But I honestly, Rob, I would, if you put a gun to my head, I would say it probably would be early in that third year that he would get the record. And there have been some saying if the Patriots don't do well this year, that they could get rid of Belichick. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think they need to keep him there so he can break that record. Because I think the days of them winning Super Bowls, at least anytime soon, are over. And so they got this all-time great coach. Let him break Shula's record there. That'll be a big deal. And then I think that should be his last year, unless, something happens where they got a great team. But I'm trying to find the quote that Shula made about Belichick, Rob, when it
Why
was
should
something
he be
like
mad?
this.
He got the largest fine in the history of NFL coaches. What's Shula supposed to say? Cover for him?
I don't blame Shula at all. Right.
Right.
So but those are, that's the situation. I'm looking up the quote. Brandon, see if you can find it as well. But what do you think about that, Rob? I think they should keep him and let him break the record there in New England.
I think we talked about this weeks ago, and always on the hot seat and this and that. I just don't believe it. I do not believe they'll fire him prematurely. I just don't believe that after you win 6 Super Bowls with a coach, and he's on the cusp of setting the all-time record, you're going to be that petty and be like, "Oh, we're firing you after this pass." I don't see it. I think that will be a part of the Patriots' history, and that's what you want. And then after that, Chris, all bets are off. All bets are off after that.
Well, look, I agree with you. I think, look, all that guy did for that franchise,
the Patriots were perennial losers. I think people forget that.
Right. A lot of people don't know, Rob, because a lot of younger,
right, they only know the Patriots is good. They used to be terrible.
Right. Yeah, they weren't a good franchise. And all of the people around Patriots universe that want to get rid of Belichick have to remember that. He made you. He and Tom Brady, obviously the driving forces of making that franchise. It's like Greg Popovich, Rob. They haven't won a ring since 2014. That's 9 years.
And not only that, they've been bad, Chris.
They've been horrible the last 4 years. And I haven't thought about getting rid of Belichick. And now, of course, they may be good in the future if Victor Wembanyama pans out. I will say this, Rob, that Shula did come out and say he regrets the criticism, that he laid on the Spygate, the Patriots because of Spygate.
Yeah, but maybe because
he said he thought people saw it as self-serving, that he's trying to help himself. And all
right, but I'm sure Bill, they got back to him that Bill was hurt or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then
coaches,
you try to clean it up a little bit, but it still was bad. It was bad for coaching.
Yeah. And so, I'm still trying to find this quote, but here it is. Shula said, this is what he said, Rob. The Spygate thing has diminished what they've accomplished. This was in 2007. You would hate to have that attached to your accomplishments. They've got it. That's what he said.
Chris,
it's not that's just
it's
a
not. Is that like Bill Belichick can't coach? He's a terrible coach, and the only way he can coach is by cheating. Now that's a different statement.
That would exactly. You're right. That's just a common sense statement.
There might be, Chris, when the time comes, you know how they do the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and only one coach could get in. There could be some people, some writers, and some people who don't let Belichick get in on the first one.
You think?
There might be.
I don't
you got to remember, he ain't
enough where he ain't going.
He ain't the nicest guy either.
Well,
it's a little different process, Chris.
With the media.
No, but I was
in Cleveland when he coached there, and his treatment of the media, and even beyond treatment, just the fact that he was so. How would you describe him in press conferences? Like just whatever. Everybody knows what I mean. that demeanor, you're a reporter. You need something, right? Can you give me a legitimate quote? I'm not saying you got to give us all the family secrets, but can you give me a legitimate quote, Coach?
Right.
I'm asking, I'm doing my job, you're doing your job. Answer the question.
That's all.
Right. And that drove people in Cleveland crazy in the media. And so, Rob, they weren't playing well. And it can't, you saw what happened there. He got fired. And so, I don't think it'll happen, but that's a good point.
I'm just saying it could. There could be enough to sway the vote. I don't know. You know what I mean? Or I don't know. I don't know the procedure in baseball is 75%, and they don't get voted on managers by the writers anyway, Chris. That's the Veterans Committee or whatever. So managers aren't voted on by the writers, just the players. So, but in the way that they do the NFL, you got to make a case for somebody.
Right.
So somebody couldn't get up there and make a case and then make a case against him, saying he cheated. He got the largest fine in the history of the NFL for a coach, blah, 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 blah. Don Shula said this, so-and-so said this, and the coaching ranks. I mean, they could use that as ammo.